All right, so welcome to the Shiny Side Cricket Podcast, and it's a podcast we're just starting up. A bunch of episodes lined up, so there'll be a daily episode coming in once the World Cup starts at the end of every game. And leading up to that, we're previewing all the major teams. I'm your host, Fareed Shah, and today we'll be doing a preview of South Africa, a lot of people's favorite team. I have with me Imran Aslam, who's an avid Pakistan cricket fan, an old friend of mine. And I think, among other things, his claim to fame is that whenever he avoids watching the final of a major tournament, Pakistan wins. Hi, Imran. Hi, how are you doing?
Hi, Fareed. Thank you for having me. I'm doing well. How about you?
Very well, thanks. So, World Cup's less than a week away now. How you feeling about it?
Excited, but after watching the Pakistan-New Zealand warm-up today, a bit apprehensive about our own chances, but still looking forward to some good games and looking forward to the tournament overall.
Yeah. I think based on what I've seen so far in the warm-ups and generally speaking, it seems like this could be one of those 350 place 350 World Cups. Generally speaking, a lot of high scores, a lot of chasing wins, perhaps. So let's see how things develop.
Yeah, I think it looks like it. I was just thinking today after watching both the games today. Unfortunately, South Africa got rained off. I was actually looking forward to having watched a bit of South Africa today for the preview, but they got rained off.
But speaking of South Africa, I think just getting started. एक चीज है जो एक चैलेंज है हमने साउथ अफ्रीका का प्रीव्यू करना है without using the C word. Can you do that?
It's going to be hard, but I'll try.
So do you think we preview करने की जरूरत है or we know what's going to happen? We know how it's going to end.
Well, I think it's I think a bit of unfortunate episodes with them over and over, but every time you think that, okay, I think this time they have it in them to take it through, go to the next level, and then something surprising comes up. So I think last World Cup, they overall had a pretty bad World Cup. So it wasn't like a surprise or I'm not going to use the word, but a surprise, shocking exit in the end. But I think a pretty bad World Cup overall. A terrible loss to Bangladesh, conceding, I think, 330 odd against Bangladesh and losing to them. Lost to us as well. I was there actually for the Pakistan-South Africa game last time, and great game for us, but they lost to us. So I think last time they had a pretty bad World Cup overall. But if you go back to maybe the previous two World Cups, they were big knockout loss, obviously 2011 and 2015, both World Cups, big losses in the knockouts. So it's been with them, and I think continues with them of never having won a knockout in a World Cup. But let's see. I think they have a good side lined up today, and they seem to be in good form leading into the tournament.
Like if you go back slightly to 2011, like that was one strong side with Steyn, Mokel, De Villiers, everybody. Like the A class side was there. As even 2015, to be honest, and they came pretty close. They were in that semi-final until Grant Elliott hit that six with 4 balls to go. So yeah. But I guess moving on to this World Cup, I think to start things off, maybe let's bring the side up and see what the squad looks like. And you can see the squad on your screen now. I think overall it's pretty. So now it's, of course, led by Bavuma. They have Quinton de Kock, top of the order, tier 1. Hendricks unlikely to play, but then there's Markram, there's Van der Dussen. And then there's two guys who arguably are two of the best finishers in the game. One's right-handed, one's left-handed, in Klaassen and Miller. So how do you see their lineup?
Yeah, I think definitely a very strong batting lineup here. I mean, they've got and a lot of their batting is in actually very good form. Just recently coming off a 400 odds score against Australia. Actually, come from behind win. I think they were trailing 2-0 against Australia, and then they came from behind to win 3-2. It was a good series, and if you look at the scores across the series, their batting has been doing really well, and I think their batting is in very good form. Just most of the guys have been getting scores recently. I think Bavuma got 100, Markram got 100 as well. Klaassen, obviously, that that totally crazy 170 odd. He came in and just thrashed them all over the park. Miller, de Kock also. I think they got 70s, 80s. So good form. I think the batting is in very good form here. So definitely, I think they have the firepower to put up those 350 scores that we were talking about, and they showed it recently against Australia. Even going back before that, they had a good series against England as well. I think beginning of this year where they beat them as well. So they are, I think, good form. If you've in your last couple of series, if you've beaten both England and Australia, that's got to count for something.
That's very
Although they
true.
were home series, but still, I think, beating England, and it was almost a full strength England side. It
Yeah.
was close to a full strength Aussie side as well. And they did beat both of them. So, yeah, I think strong squad, good form.
Yeah. If you look at the squad on
Nortje is a
your
big,
screen, though, sorry to cut you off. If you look at the squad on your
yeah,
screen, there's one thing to highlight here. This is divided into three sections, right? And
yeah,
so the top is the batting, the bottom is the bowling, and the middle is the all-rounders. And this is, I feel like there's potentially a bit of weakness in the side because they only have two names in the center. And I think what's going to happen is, so if you look at the bowling, it's pretty strong. I feel like Maharaj and Shamsi are probably two of the better spinners going around in the shorter formats. And Rabada and Gidi, again, very good. I'm a big fan of Andre Nokia. Unfortunately, he won't be there because of injury. But I think the problem is they'll
yeah. I think
have
that's
to
a big
figure out
miss.
the right balance, though.
Yeah, I think for me, Nortje is a big miss because on if the tournament is going to be played on pitches like the ones we saw today, especially the Pakistan New Zealand game,
Yeah.
you need the out and out pace that Nortje, someone like Nortje brings in. So I think that's probably the biggest miss. Yeah,
I mean, to be honest, he's the one
reminds me
guy in
of
their team I love watching the most. Like I think he's an
yeah,
incredibly good bowler to watch. But I think so. I
yeah,
think what's going to happen is when they go around to get into the 11, I think this will be a challenge for them because either they will have to go have a slightly longer tail, or they may not necessarily have a lot of bowling options, right? So
yeah,
and I think if you just look at the fixtures quickly, which they're going to play. So again, they start off with Sri Lanka and Delhi, then they go to Australia and Lucknow. So I guess they have one of the tougher matches second up. But I think if you look at it another way, then they have Netherlands right after that. So interesting. I guess they have a bit of a stop-start kind of schedule where they go to Sri Lanka first, which is, well, generally you would think it's in South Africa on current form should take them, even though Sri Lanka in these
yeah,
conditions are not a walkover. But then Australia and
yeah. I think
Lucknow, Netherlands is an easy game, and then England right after that. So
yeah, I think they have a few like as you said, it's a tough start honestly. Other keeping the Netherlands game aside, Sri Lanka okay, especially after recent Asia Cup form, even today losing to Bangladesh. So I don't think Sri Lanka is in great form, and I'd back South Africa on that game.
yeah,
Australia will be an interesting game, but again, I think they should take the confidence from their series win against them into the game. So there is a likelihood that they could actually go start the tournament with a reasonably strong start with if they can, assuming they can get Sri Lanka and through Sri Lanka and Netherlands, and if they can beat Australia, which I think they've shown recently they can, you start the tournament with 3 wins, you're in a pretty strong situation.
I mean,
And coming
I
up to
guess,
England,
yeah, I guess, I mean, even though England's a tougher side, I would say if South Africa can finish with 3 wins in the first four, they'd be pretty happy, and they probably have a decent
they
shot
would
of making it to
definitely
the semis. Then, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Then, yeah, I mean, even if you drop a couple of games after that, they drop England, hopefully they drop Pakistan. That still puts them in a pretty strong situation. And
Yeah.
they're playing Afghanistan at the end. So if it boils down to points, net run rate calculations, etc., I mean, you'd rather have like
To
one
be
of the
honest,
relatively weaker teams with you against
generally,
Iran.
yeah, but knowing how South Africa operate, this could also be one of those banana peel games which they have to win to qualify, and they're chasing an easy target and they just mess it up. If you remember, they did that last year in the T20 World Cup against the Netherlands,
Yeah.
right? So this could be one of those also.
Yeah,
But
it could be. It could be.
yeah, and they're also playing
But I mean,
Pakistan in Chennai, which is the most spin-friendly ground in India these days, and that could be interesting. So, I mean, to be fair, we don't necessarily have the quality of spin which we used to, but I think we could probably still have enough quality to kind of trouble the South African side in that kind of conditions.
Yeah, I think not sure. Like if you look at again going back to the recent form, they Zampa went for plenty across the Australia series. So I think these guys, most of their batting has shown that they've adapted playing spin and they're playing spin quite well. And again, as you said, I don't think today, even on current form, none of our spinners seem to be posing a big threat. So I wouldn't really, even though it's Jitai, I'd actually put it the other way. With their 2 spinners, they have a pretty strong chance. And I've been
True.
So interestingly now they have, if you talk about spin, because I'm pretty sure as we go along the tournament, spinners are going to start playing a big role in the tournament. They've got 2 spinners. I think they've got to be one of the few sides who's going around with 2 left-arm spinners, like and without any right-arm spinner. But they have it covered because one's a wrist spinner, one's a finger
Yeah,
spinner.
exactly.
So they are turning the ball both ways.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's an interesting package. Now, if you look at both of these guys, they both have reasonably similar records in terms of economy rates, strike rates in the mid to low 30s, etc. I was looking a bit, and Maharaj, he has an economy of like 4.5, 4.7, and he's got an economy of under 6 against every team he's played against, except Netherlands, but that's just one game. And India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, which normally you would say are spin friendly team, like teams better at playing spin, he averages his economy rate is between 4 and 4.5 against those guys. So he's done really well recently in keeping the runs down. So I think he's the guy they're backing on to come in the middle, keep the runs down, and then that gives Shamsi from the other end to come in and pick up a few wickets. So I think they have a good spin lineup, and especially with Maharaj keeping the runs down, it can make it pretty tough for the opposition.
I guess the challenge for them becomes how do they fit everybody in, right? That's the big challenge for them. And so
Yeah.
again, I was trying to put together what the likely 11 is likely to be, right? And if you look at what's on the screen, this is my view of what their potential 11 is. I'm not sure if you have a different view on this, but it seems like, so again, it's, I guess to be fair, the top six is kind of set in stone. So it's going to be De Kock, Bavuma, then Van der Dussen, Markram, Klaassen, and Miller. Now, except for Markram, no one really is giving them a bowling option as such here in the top six. He balls his kind of his off spin, but then they have Marco Janssen as the all rounder. Then now, assuming they play this 11, they'll have Shamsi and Maharaj as spinners, and Rabada and Giri. And the problem here is all four of them are not really, they can't really bat so well. So you essentially have one of the guys who are not the best with the bat coming in at number 8. So it's a bit of a long tail here. They could bring in one of the all-rounders, but then who do you take out? So it's a tricky one.
This is a long
I'm not sure what the
tail.
right answer is here.
Yeah, I think it's a tricky one. I think this is similar to maybe the situation India found themselves in, and they bought Ashwin into the squad just to cover because they wanted someone who can bat 8.
Yeah.
Now with this tail, I mean, with this 11, actually, I think you got to play the two spinners in India across pretty much, I guess, most of the grounds. Maybe keeping a couple aside, Dharamshala maybe slightly different, can swing around there. I think you got to play the two spinners. I would like to get Faflakayo, hard name to pronounce, Faflakayo in the 11 somehow. But then leaving out one of Rabada or Ngiri is a big call to make. But I think they would probably, at least maybe towards the middle of the tournament, look to rotate a bit their two premier quicks, Rabada and Ngidi, and get Faflakayo into the 11. That gives them the option. He bats 8, reasonably good with the ball as well, and then they can continue playing the two spinners.
That seems really light on the pace attack, though, right? Because then if you have just one of Gidi or Rabada, and then with the all-rounder you mentioned, and then the two spinners, just seems a bit light. But you never know. They may have to try it depending on who they're facing up to.
Yeah, because between the two, between Marco Janssen and Faflakayo, I think I'd back the latter to fit in here. But again, yes, that does make the pace attack lighter. But I think they would be keen on keeping both Shamsi and Maharaj in the 11. I think they'd be keen on doing that.
And, so, and guys, the way guys like Klaassen and Miller bat, I think it really helps them if they know there's depth behind them. But you have to see that if they're playing with a very long tail, will they be able to play the game which they're brilliant at? Will they be able to play like that or not? So I think it's something they'll have to figure out as they go along.
That's true. The other interesting, so what do you think about Kotzi as the surprise package here? I know he's fresh, played a few games, but bowls quick, can be a surprise package on Indian pitches. Think Jofra Archer back to 2019 World Cup, coming off fresh, quick, and had a big role to play in the England win. So maybe they'd look to get Kotzi in maybe in some of the games as well.
He may be the guy who actually fractured Travis Head's hand, I believe. Because he fractured his hand because he got hit during the game against South Africa. And I think it might have been off his bowling. He's pretty quick. Yeah. No, I think that could be an interesting one.
He's fresh, but he's quick, and he replaces Norty in the squad. And if you want someone with out and out pace, which again you need, that helps you a lot on Indian pitches. So coming in and playing a similar role to, for example, Haris Rauf does for us. Yeah. I think it could be an interesting surprise package. But then again, where do you slot him? I'm not sure if how he is with the bat. Can he bat 8? Maybe that could actually solve that problem for them as well. Yeah. If he's good enough to bat 8. I don't know. I haven't seen his batting, or I haven't seen his batting records. I don't know if he's capable enough to actually bat 8.
Yeah, I think going back to the 11, it seems like they probably. So I think which balance they pick depend on who they're playing, but it feels a bit like if they are playing. So we just saw the schedule, right? And if they are playing first up when they're playing either the Netherlands or Sri Lanka, they probably go with the two quicks, and they could even leave out one of the premier spinners. But when it comes to playing Australia and England first up, they would probably want both Maharaj and Shamsi in there, because I don't think Australia and England really have too many weaknesses, but they're probably much more likely to not come off against quality spin than the faster quicks, I would imagine.
I think I'd go with one spinner against Sri Lanka for sure. I mean, they can for sure, and they're pretty adept at playing spin and on those pitches. Early days also in the tournament, so the pitches haven't seen much wear and tear. I'd probably go with the strong pace attack against Sri Lanka, but then Australia would probably go back to two spinners.
Yeah.
So they haven't played much together, by the way. So if you look at Maharaj and Tabriz, they've played, I think, 15 games together. And actually, South Africa has won 10 out of those 15 games. So they haven't played much together, but when they have played together, South Africa tends to do well. They've actually won 10 out of the 15 games the two have played together.
I mean, I guess South Africa probably play about half their games at home, and then maybe 60-70% at home, and Australia, England, etc. Right? So they probably don't play more than 25% of the then in Asian conditions and so on. So that probably can explain that. I feel like they will probably I think it's a strong case to play both, but let's see how it pans out.
Yeah, so actually, that I think would be maybe their weakness here, lack of games around in Asia, right? So I think over the last 3 years or so, they've only had a couple of series. Like I know we haven't played South Africa in a long time. They haven't visited or toured Pakistan. I think they toured. They had a series against India, and they played against Sri Lanka over the recent past, like in the past 3 or 4 years. That's the only cricket they've had in Asia. They lost both of those series. I think they lost 2-1 to India. They lost 2-1 to Sri Lanka as well. So all in all, I think 6 games in about 3 years in Asian conditions. That's something that potentially could be a weakness for them.
Yes and no, but most of the guys are regular in the IPL.
Yeah.
So I guess that way they're very familiar with the conditions. I get your point where as a team they may not have played so much, but in terms of the conditions, most of them play the IPL. So I feel like they probably have a decent sense.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You know, likes of De Kock, Markram, Klassen. Has Klassen played in the IPL?
I think Klassen has definitely been in squads. I don't think he gets a lot of game time. Miller again is regular. I think he's even led aside.
Yeah.
And then so have the quicks. I don't think the spinners have to be fair. I don't think they've been picked up. But
yeah, I don't remember them. I think not even PSL. I don't think these guys have played. So yeah, so they are a bit I think green in Asian conditions. So it'll be interesting to see how they fare.
Okay, good stuff. So I guess before we wrap up, what's your prediction for them?
It's a tough one. So they haven't, as we said earlier, they haven't won a knockout match in a World Cup, but this World Cup maybe is different because it's like the similar to the previous World Cup, but different from the ones before it, that you can get to the semi-final without playing a knockout. I honestly think, given the recent form, given the strength of their batting, I'd back them to a semi-final spot.
I think I'm gonna predict that they will have an easy game to win in the end, which they need to win to qualify, and they won't win it, and they won't make it.
That's a sadistic prediction.
It is. I mean, I think you know how it is. So, I mean, कब से देख रहे हैं इनको यही करते हैं ये लोग. So let's see.
Will that get involved Duckworth Lewis also?
Who knows? It can happen. But good stuff. But thank you for taking the time out, Imran. It was a pleasure having you on Shiny Side, and hopefully we'll catch you again as the tournament goes on.
Thank you, Faris. Looking forward to being back with you.
Great. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.